So what we're going to look at now is kinetic IA, or kinetic immediate action. So this can be used in a couple of instances. It's a start of a RETSEF play, so we can use this at the start of RETSEF and we can bring in our close combatives into RETSEF, and we can do it from preemptively or even after a strike defense, and then we can employ this straight away. So I'll show you this first from prevention timeline, pretty much in a preemptive action. So what happens is here, perhaps I'll come forward here, and so perhaps here I'm in a situation where I feel like I need to react first here, and so I have got a couple other things. I have got limited strikes, I've got full RETSEF on this guy straight away, I've got this whole scalable force I can apply with striking. But for this one here, we're going to add kinetic IA. There's a couple of ways of doing it. So first of all, I'll show you, we're going to be using them on with our forearm. So we're using a forearm. I've decided that preemptively I needed to react here, and I blast this guy here. And what's happening is aggressive movement. So what I want to do is break his balance. I want to break his balance physically, and I want to break his balance mentally. And so what's happening is here, I'll start to get my hands up, obviously, if I'm not feeling too comfortable in the situation, and then I'm going to blast into him. Basically, my frame is going to be here. I'm going to give it a strong frame, hand supporting the hand here. And with the pinky blade of my forearm, I'm going to blast this into my attacker's neck here. And when I blast this into his neck, you can see I'm coming in at slight 45 angle, because I want to be just off his angle rather than be right in front of him. So when I'm blasting, I hit the angle just slightly here. And from here with my forearm, this is technically a strike, forearm strike, up and into his neck. Now when I do this, I don't want to press forward. I want to press forward and up. Forward and up here is going to help start to break his balance. Now he's going to be backpedaling. Backpedaling is the worst way to be moving. And so I'm going to be making my attacker backpedal at a slight angle here. And if I go forward here, and what happens is as I break his balance here, and I start driving, and I drive fast and aggressive here. Now at this point here, I can drive him. I can keep driving him into environment objects, so into tables and pillars and doors and walls. Otherwise, I can just keep driving in space and then switch onto my RETSEF. And because I'm in such close range up in here on my attacker, I'd be switching into close range combatives. So as I'm driving here now, I'm being very slow on Liam here. As I'm driving in here, I can start to bring in knees low. I have got headbutts, I've got elbows, I've got palm hits here, I've got palm strike hits to the ear and pushing. I've got lots of strikes I can start to add in. Now, I can do these strikes here whilst keeping my forearm frame into my attacker here, and I can keep striking while keep pressing. Or at some point, after I've done my initial contact with my kinetic IA, I can then start to open up into just RETSEF with just strikes. Also, when I'm coming in and driving here, another good action is whilst I'm driving, I can also recoil this forearm here just ever so slightly to jam my attacker again. And that's going to be another forearm strike to help also with pain, but also keep the pressure on him high as well. There's another one we can do with kinetic IA. It works quite well if they're a little bit taller as well. And what happens is here is instead of coming with my forearm, I can actually start to come in and hit into the neck with the inside hand blade. And from here I can hit and drive and press with this one. With my other free hand here, I can also just come in to hit his shoulder. It's also usable sometimes if I need to start grabbing or defending this arm here for whatever reason, scooping and hooking and catching it if I needed it here. And then what happens is here is I can hit and drive it. The same thing, I can use this inside hand blade to drive him into walls and objects, drive momentum here, and then switch to strikes. And once again, I've still got driving here, and I can also jam it a second time and keep driving my attacker backwards. Now, with kinetic IA, using environmental dominance, I can use this very well into something like wall dominance here. So if I turn my attacker Liam here now, if I was to react here, I can see the wall is quite close to my attacker. So at this point here, I can now switch to kinetic IA, and I'm going to drive him into the wall. And basically, I want to use the wall also as an impact strike as well, so I can slam him up into that. So one is going to pin him, and I'm going to try and pin him on the wall as if I'm trying to pin him to the ground. The wall is just a vertical ground for me. I want to pin him onto the wall. And two, I can use the wall as impact as well. So for something like here, I can use my forearm kinetic IA, I'll drive it, and then I'll drive my attacker up into the wall. From here, and I'm being a little bit nice to Liam at this point, but with my driving, I can drive and press up to slam his head into the back of the wall. And once I have pinned him onto the wall here, you can see I'm a little bit off the line on my 45. And I'm not just pressing him here, I'm pressing and driving upwards. And I'm pressing and driving my forearm to press him up onto the wall, which pins him a little bit better. From here, I can then start to easily bring in my knee strikes, my headbutts. I've got my forearm strikes and elbow strikes again, where I reload them and keep him pinned there. I've also got my other hand hitting here, I can press, and basically I can keep striking, or then I can make my escape out from here. Also with the kinetic IA, basically when I am striving, if I get Liam coming here, is once I do make my contact with my attacker hitting here, basically I can then switch this into a side clinch here and then pull him down into some attacks like so. And even if he starts to press against and drive against this here, what I can easily do from here is then turn him into a half clinch on the opposite side or a collar tie, and then I can start to hit basically on this side. So if I do feel like my attacker is resisting one way or another way here, I can switch into a half clinch or a collar tie, and then I can swap from here. Always trying to use his balance, his momentum against him with aggressive strikes. So using this kinetic IA, I can also use it as a start of my Retsev against strikes. So for example, I can have the attacker perhaps has done a circular strike. And so from here, instead of doing my typical 360 with my strikes, here where I'm relying on my striking now to retaliate and stop his further attacks, now I can break his balance mentally and physically here, get the initial reaction on this guy, and I can be in a place of dominance on this person. So what happens is here, is now when the attacker attacks, here, what I can do is I've done my 360, and then I've come in with my kinetic IA, forearm here, blast into the neck, doing the same thing to really take him off balance here. And then slowly, as I'm driving, I can then open up into my close combatives as well. Also, another attack, straight attack. So also my attacker perhaps in like a straight attack, and with my inside defense, there's my inside defense here. And then instead of doing my punch that I would usually for my striking, here I can now from here keep pressing, jam this hand up and start to go in with my kinetic IA with my forearm. So if he was coming here with attack here, and then basically you can see I'm taking and covering out this hand while jamming up, and then I've got my Retsev as well. So with this kinetic IA, it can be utilized in many different scenarios. So it can be used as a start of my Retsev here, where I drive with my Retsev, and then I can start to get into retro strikes, pins, I can actually go into takedowns. I can take this to the aggressive solution here. But I can also take this and scale it back. I could also use this to burst onto my opponent, create space, break his balance and his mindset here, and drive him into a table or into a wall, create that space, and then I can turn and run here without having to engage into strikes. But at least I've had this aggressive nature to nullify the initial contact here of this scenario, and then with that aggressive nature, I can then start to escape out, get safe, or perhaps even get a common object. The only slight issue with this problem is it's a little bit height and weight dependent. If they're a little bit too big, too tall, you might have a little bit of problems starting to rush to break some certain guys' balance here, especially if there's a big weight disparity. Height, not too bad. You might struggle with the forearm, but you could still hit him with an inside hand blade coming up into the throat. Otherwise, it will be something around your height and weight, something that you'd be comfortable blasting with them to move them. When they start to get quite too big, too heavy, too wide, this is where striking Retsev comes back into it, because now I have to rely more on pain compliance and pain reactions rather than momentum here to try and move this body.